Good evening and welcome to Light Code Portal. My name is Tonya Griffin. I'm the Dean of Education with Light Language University, and I'm here with Anna Noyce, founder of Light Language University and Circle Insights. Our mission is to inspire others who are awakening and to aid in the imminent growth of conscious awareness of being multidimensional. So, tonight we have a very, very interesting subject, and it's one that I'm personally very interested in. Tonight's subject is tricksters. We're going to be talking a little bit on the spirit rescue realm. How are you doing tonight, Anna?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for asking. And it's interesting because tonight is going to be a cold night, so um, the temperatures are dropping as we speak.
Yes, they are. So, it's a perfect night to talk about tricksters and spirit rescue stuff.
Yes. So where are we going this evening?
So like I said, we're talking about tricksters. So the first question that anybody would ask is, what is a trickster? What are we talking about?
So we know about tricksters from our folklores and a lot of our stories that's been passed down from generation to generation. We talk a lot about these beings that come in and they teach us. They have a sense of humor. We have Coyote from the Native American or Copapelli, who's who plays tricks on people and kind of teaches them lessons. We have the fox who likes to play in Aesop's fables. We also have what is the one in I am trying to think of Thor, um, his brother, and I can't ever think of his name. And
Loki, you're talking about Thor's
Loki. Thank you. Yes, no, thank you. So Loki, and there's quite a bit in each culture. We have these amazing tricksters that come in, and they can be good. They can be they're more about being what do you call that, where they get into trouble. They're mischievous is what they are. And we have those in our folklores, but they also, what we're finding, Tanya, and we do a lot of spirit rescue, is that we're finding them in our work in the multi dimensions of how they play parts and how they come and they influence people, and people can be influenced and not even realize that. So I think tonight that's kind of what we're going to talk about, what a trickster is and how that works.
So, what would some of the common characteristics of a trickster be? I think you just touched on that a little bit with the being mischievous and so forth. In our line of work, where do we usually see them and why?
Oh, that's a really good question. Thank you for asking that. we see them, we do see them. A lot of people have them as their spirit guides because they don't even realize that they're tricksters. Tricksters will often come to children and be their playmates, and people don't realize that because they're friendly and they're fun, and they do things, and so children can often be fooled, is the word I'm trying to think, because they don't know how to ask. They just kind of trust. And these beings can come in and become their friends. And then as they grow, they have this relationship with these beings, thinking that they have the best interest. Now, the trickster's best interest is always in themselves. So they can come and they can look like angels. They can look like little bunny rabbits, something that you wouldn't even notice, and be there. And sometimes they give good advice, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're being mischievous and they just want to see what happens. So it's really good to learn, and that's something we touch upon, Tanya, in Spirit Rescue, is how do you know if this is your real spirit guide? Because one of the things we know is that a real spirit guide has your best interest. They never tell you what to do. A trickster will tell you what to do. They always will suggest things because it's always free will of the person who has that experience. So it's good to know, what kind of being is around you and understand some of the rules of communicating with those beings that come into our space.
So, with the trickster, in our line of work, we usually see them as what we call attachments, correct? in our energy
Yes,
field, and that's usually where we find them.
right, because we have those layers of the anatomy of the spirit, and they can come in. And it's not, we don't do anything wrong. It's not that anybody does anything wrong to attract them. It's just that they s- they see you, they think, wow, that would be fun. And if you're accepting of it, or you believe that, and that's something why I think a lot of the teachers in the past say this can be kind of dangerous. It can be if you get too far into it and you go the wrong direction. And we're talking about the tone scale here. So remember, the tone scale, the highest level is unconditional love, the lowest level is fear, and then we have the heart line. And so if a being is leading you into the darkness, then you need to reassess, because your spirit guide will never lead you there. They will always have the higher ground and always help you kind of step up into your higher self, and step in your power, not take your power away or try to set you up for things where you're going to fail and then laugh at you. I mean, that's what a trickster does. So they always, again, they always have their best interest, not your best interest. And part of what we found is that people attract these beings because they can also cloak themselves as angels, and you think you have an angel and you're communicating. We had one student who was an amazing student, and she thought she was getting advice from her angel. And at one point the angel was giving her, I guess it was answers on a test. Now, again, you have to understand that your spirit guide won't give you answers on a test. They have better and bigger things to take care of than to give you answers while you're taking a test. So when she realized that, she went back and said, hey, you know what? I think you're a trickster. And of course, the angel went back into its form. And then she said, you know what? I don't want to play anymore. You have to leave. It is that simple. You can just ask them to leave. But a lot of people don't even realize that it's that simple. And sometimes they can scare you. They can come into I want to say a costume, but it's not really a costume. They can shapeshift into something, and they can be very scary. So people can also be intimidated by them, and that's why they'll keep them in their energy fields, or they don't recognize, and they hear this voice that's telling them something negative, and they follow that voice. We see a lot of that out in the world, where people are getting into trouble or doing things that they wouldn't normally do because they're influenced by these beings. And I think the other thing I want to touch on, Tanya, is that some people think they're demons, but they're not they're not demons. Demons are very far and few between, and we've learned that because of all the rescues that we've been doing, and the work that we do. They are, however, they can go dark below that heart line. They can go dark. So once you recognize that you're always can step up into your higher power, and that you have power over that, you can always tell them to leave. You don't even have to ask. You just tell them to leave, and they do, because you change your vibration
So,
and they don't match it.
why do you think that tricksters are so popular in culture?
Oh, because they are funny. They get into trouble. They're interesting. We're human, and what do? We also do the same things. We're always, don't touch that light socket. What? Don't touch that light socket. You know? We do, it makes us laugh, but we also do those things. We're exploring, we're doing things. So tricksters are also kind of a mirror of the human race and who we are. They're also our good, and they're also our negative. Why we always remove the tricksters is because if someone comes to us and they're looking and they're having this experience that is on below that heart line, that's causing them to feel sick, or causing them to feel like they're having voices telling them to do things that they don't want to do, or telling them that they're not good enough, then we usually go in. Now, it can be other things, as you know, but oftentimes we do find these tricksters. And sometimes, Tanya, you and I, we've worked together on our medical intuitive and our spirit rescue. We've been tricked. We're like, wait a minute, this is what we think it is. And we're all thinking, when we're working in a team, we're all going, wait a minute, we're getting different, we're seeing different things, we're getting messages, and somebody's going, right? I mean, tell us your
Yeah,
experience.
yeah, no, that's true. We've had that our team, and we have a very good team that works together doing this. And usually that's when we know we've got a trickster, is when all three of us are getting different readings, because there's something there that's causing us to have some confusion. Because usually when we go in, we usually lock down. We may go in different directions and find different, energy paths that we go down, but overall we're on the same page. And usually, and we've learned, through experience, that if we go in and there is a different path for each of us, we're having confusion, that there's usually a trickster there trying to throw up a smoke screen to keep themselves hidden.
You and a smoke screen is part of it too. We'll go in and we're like, we don't see anything, or we'll go in and we're like, what do we see? This we can't. There'll be fog or something, and so yeah, you have to kind of work through it. Um, and they leave. Are the guides that we work with, the energies, the beings that we work with, our guides that we've been working with for a while, they come in and they really help us. We're able to remove them, and people amazingly feel lighter and they feel more positive and they start to heal. And so we're starting to see a lot of things as when we remove these beings out of their fields. So
But
yes.
we have had those that too, that once we removed them, they actually felt that loss, because it was something that they had grown so familiar with.
True. I mean, like exactly like a child who's grown up and now is an adult, and then they let that being go. You're right. They're attached to that being. They're used to it's a friend, but it's not a good friend. It's kind of yeah a codependent relationship that's not good. So you're right. That's interesting.
So, can you bring a trickster over from your past life?
Yes, you can. You can bring them over. You can also attract them in a past life, and they can follow you into this lifetime. And you know what? I don't see that a lot, but we have seen it a couple of times in the cases that we've done at our clinic um, with our spirit rescue, and it is interesting. But there again, it's really easy to remove when you know what you're looking for. Once you identify that being, call it out, and then you start working with it to remove it. It's an easy remove. So I don't think we've ever lost one so far. Knock on wood. We always have them go through, but that doesn't mean that they can't. Sometimes they can't come around and find another entry, another portal. And so yeah, the person, and also teaching the client to shift their frequency and their vibration, to raise it above, and no longer that trickster can see them, because we can shift that and help them also move on to higher ground.
So, what causes a trickster, you to grab a trickster's attention? What in your life would you're just going dee 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 down the road, and what would you do to gain one's attention?
um, it could be anything. I mean, it could be as simple as being innocent as a child to attract a trickster's attention. Again, they're curious. Tricksters are curious and they're opportunists, and if they see an opportunity, that's all it takes. It can be a weak spot, it can be however, and they can show up as there could be someone who has a divorce and they're lonely. It's an opportunity for a trickster to come in. It can be somebody who lost somebody and they're grieving. It's an opportunity. It can be a child that wants to play with someone, and it's an opportunity. It's not that we're bad or anything that happens. It's just that we're being fooled. So it's a matter of really learning about these beings and understanding that they are. And again, we go multi-dimensional dimensions. There are, if you take a fractal, I wanted to bring this up. If you take the fractal and you keep going and going and going, and you say that's the universes that just keep, and we know that it's zero to infinity and below, and it goes out, parallel. So we got past, present, future, and parallel going on, and we it's like fractals with dimensions. So beings from these different dimensions are attracted to different scenarios, and we do catch their attention on this earth plane. We forget that we're not just physical beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. And so the same thing with a trickster. They it captures their attention, something happens in their world, and they say, "Hey, this might be fun." So it's nothing that we're
Yeah,
doing.
they're just having a bored day and they go, "Oh, that one looks good. Let's go hang out with that person."
Exactly. And it can be lifetimes. It can be lifetimes. So,
So, would you say that they're intelligent beings?
yes. Yes. We forget that too. And I'm glad you brought that up because we do forget. We think that just because we're working with ghosts or spirits, that there are entities, that they're not intelligent. They are just as intelligent as we are. In fact, some of them are even more intelligent than we are because they come from higher dimensions. They see more things. Like our guides, they have more access to past, present, future, where we're really kind of looking at, okay, that's our past. This is where we are now. This is a possibility of our future. They can see it all because time doesn't exist. So, yeah, these beings are incredible and they are intelligent, which makes it,
And that's
I think,
why they,
no, go ahead, please.
I was going to say that's why they can sometimes tell people what's going to happen, and that's how they endear themselves to them. Is tell them what's going to happen tomorrow or something, uh, and so that's what endears them to them.
Exactly. Because people, they'll give them a prediction and it's right. And they'll go, oh, okay, this is our guy. And I think that's probably the hardest part. And especially they don't want to give it up. If they're used to having all these predictions or being able to predict the future or looking at something that's happening at this moment, then it's hard to give it up. But if that trickster starts to get bored with it, you can see him going over, and then they want to go do something else. Then life can really turn, dark really quickly if you're following and you're believing it because you've trusted. So um, we like to remove tricksters as much as we can from those persons' aura.
So can we tell a trickster to leave on behalf of somebody else?
Yes, you can, but you also have to understand it's more important for the person, let's say that you're a practitioner and you get permission from your client to remove the trickster. But if the client has, you can go in and try to remove the trickster. But if the client and the trickster have a symbiotic or codependent relationship and the client doesn't want to let go, it's going to be a lot harder to get that being to leave. Because again, we're playing with free will.
What
And I know,
happens to a trickster when a person dies?
oh, the trickster will either find someone else or will pass on with the person, wait, and when the person comes back into another lifetime, will reattach because of the energy field.
So would it move on to another family member?
It's possibility, and a trickster can move on to another family member when they're alive, not when they're passed on, because somebody else might be a more better party favor than the client or the person that it's attached to. Oops, sorry, my bad.
That's the joys of working from home.
Yes.
So can they inhabit the body with other entities? Can there be more than one trickster at a time in somebody's energy field?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I think what was the number? Didn't we remove like three tricksters off of one person? I think that was the most we did. I think
Seven.
it was. Oh, it was seven. Oh, yeah, I
Seven
forgot
was the
about that.
most.
Yeah, that was an interesting. And they all had different personalities, different experience in the person, and the person wasn't really aware of it. They were just getting different messages, and they were feeding off a different energy. That's the other thing. I don't think people realize that they do feed off of the energy fields. They do make that person tired. They can drain that person and make them sick, um, because they're right here and they're using a lot of energy, um, which is another reason why tricksters are attached.
Right. And that one individual that had the seven, he was a very interesting individual with very unique talents. And I think that's probably why he attracted so many. And he was suffering physically from the effects.
Yes, it's amazing too that.
So, how do
Oh, go ahead. I think there was a delay. Go ahead.
oh, sorry. I was going to say, how do you know if you have a trickster? Is there something specific that you can tell in your energy field that lets you know that you have a trickster?
Do you ever have those days where you say, "I just don't feel like myself"? You've heard that expression. I
Oh,
really don't feel like myself. So you feel like you're kind of off for something, or something's telling you something negative, or to do something. Maybe go push that cart over there. It, you know, I'm just making this up, but go push the cart and see what happens. And you're like, wait a minute, I don't think like that. that's that's probably not you. It's probably some, something else. And I'm not saying that we don't have negative thoughts, because we're human. People go up and down with, and we're curious too. But if it's something that's out of line, or you start to have these feelings, and you go, well, I just don't feel like myself today, this really feels kind of off, or this is not my thinking, I don't think like this, then that's a place where you want to go and have it checked out, either by someone like us at the clinic, contact you, Tanya, and have us go in there, or you can find a practitioner that knows how to remove the tricksters. But yes.
so is there anything positive that we could learn from a trickster?
Yes, well, tricksters teach us a lot about our own energy, our own thing, and even though we may not feel like it's something we would do, we're attracted to them. We love to see the tricksters on cartoons. We love to see Loki on Thor. I think we like to see them get in trouble. They're interesting. They're exciting. They're just not fun if they're getting you in trouble. They're not fun if they're making you not feel good, because you've got seven of them and they're draining your energy fields because you're not feeling good. You can learn from them, and again, it's not always negative. It can also be a positive experience from learning from Aesop's fables, or learning from the stories from the ancient, the wisdom from the other cultures, because they're really teaching you about how to maneuver and how to make those judgments. So we can learn from tricksters. They're here to teach us, but also, if it becomes a negative experience, know that it's not something you have to live with. It's something that can be removed. And once you have those tricksters removed, you can still attract tricksters if you don't shift your frequency and change your thoughts, or move into a different um, vibration. You can still attract something, because somebody walking by, a being that walking by and go, that's interesting. Let's play with that. That looks fuzzy. Let's play with that. So, it's really about just self maintenance. It's like clearing, right? Clearing our chakras,
Right.
balancing our chakras. It's really about learning how to clear and understanding, hey, if this is something we have, it's not the end of the world. It's something we can shift and change.
So, in your opinion, do you think that people who suffer from multiple personality disorder, that a trickster could be a part of that?
Yes, I do. I do. It can be a part of that, but there's other things that can vary. It can be something that bleed through from the monad that we've talked about. It can be so many other things, and I guess it would be case by case, where you'd have to really look at and look at. I think that's a really good question. It's something that's case by case. We've had people that have done well after they've had one of our cleansing experiences with the spirit rescue, and we've had other people where we've had to work on layers of things, and it wasn't just one thing with the beings. We've had to go into surgeries and do spirit retrieval, soul retrieval. So it can be multiple layers. So that's kind of a layered question.
Okay.
I mean,
One
layered
more
answer.
question.
Layered answer.
A layered answer.
Yes, that's what I
Um,
meant. Yes.
if somebody is suffering from or feeling that they're being attacked spiritually, um, would it be from a trickster, or could it be from something different, or could it be a combination of both?
And I think you answered it the last one. It could be a trickster. It could be a trickster. It can be so many other things that we work with. We have a list of, when we're doing spirit rescue and we start training people, we have a list of entities that we work with, and how we work with portals and spirit guides. So it could be a multitude of that. There are other things called clives that they magnify things and make things a little bit more. Um, it magnifies the situation. So if you're really sad and a client attaches to you, then you're like depressed and you're really feeling awful. It's just not sad. So there's these different entities, and yes, it can also be other things in the spirit anatomy, or it could be a bleed through. Again, that kind of matches the other, and it's case by case. You never know until you get in. And I think, Tanya, you and I have had those experiences where we will have a client, we're like, oh, we're going to do that tonight. We're just before we're stepping in, we may be talking, we're like, oh, I bet it's this and this and this, and we get in there, it's completely not what we thought it was. We find there's multiple layers, and we're working with different modalities and different techniques, and so it can be a spirit rescue, and it can be a psychic surgery, and it can be other things, like I said, soul retrieval, or it can be something else that we're pulling in, our psychopump that we're working with, or it's hard to know. Akashic records, where we're shifting something in a past, present, future life, or it's a multitude.
Very true. All right, Miss Anna, I think that's all we have for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. And we thank you for joining us for Light Code Portal. We do want to remind you to please check our website. We do have our workshops are in session now. Our first Light Language 101 workshop is this weekend. So please just check out our website for all of our dates. And if you have any questions, please be sure to submit those via Facebook. Thank you again, and good night.